This is one of those guys that is a top 10 scorer in the entire National Hockey League.
He's become a legit #1 top centerman in the league.
Holy mackerel, what a shot!
That is a thing of beauty.
He scored! What a goal!
Glove save made.
Wow, these are plays that superstar players make.
He's an elite superstar. The best in the biz.
One of the best players on the planet.
We continue to count down towards the start of the NHL season, and so we continue to count up our list of top 50 NHL players of 2019. If you missed any of the previous 4 episodes, going from 50 to 11 in 4 episode chunks, they're in the comments below. Your comments are there as well. We would encourage you to continue to send in your thoughts, both positive and negative, towards our list. The discussion is great. The discourse is great. We really, really appreciate it. These two guys have been great with me as well. Rory Boylen, Ryan Dixon. The Tape to Tape podcast is where you hear them. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 from the Vegas Golden Knights is Mark Stone.
Mark Stone, right to the net, a backhand and he scores!
Mark Stone is putting on a show for Vegas.
Holy smokes! Mark Stone.
Money player.
Really wanted to make a statement with this one here.
Yeah.
I think this line in Vegas with Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, and Paul Stastny could have a huge year. I think they're going to be the de facto #1 line there for that team this season. For the first part, Pacioretty and Stastny didn't play a heck of a lot with each other up until the trade deadline. One or the other was injured for stretches through the season. And then Mark Stone comes in after the trade deadline. There's a little bit of a feeling out process there as all three of them get used to each other. But if you take playoffs as part of this, Stone finished with 23 points in 25 games. He's had a couple of seasons in a row of his points going up and up and up, and now we're looking at a guy who could be a point per game player or better, and he was a Selke finalist last year. He could legitimately be the first winger to win the Selke trophy since Yuri Lettinen in 2003. So if you are telling me that Mark Stone is an 80-plus point player, maybe he gets to 90, and he is a guy who wins the Selke at the end of this year. I mean, this is a guy who does everything at both ends of the ice, penalty kill time. I mean, that's a top 10 player to me.
Well, that's what I want to talk about, right? We know that he could score, and the playoffs kind of heightened that. A lot of people may not have watched him in Ottawa and got a little bit of a waking up in the postseason when he did his thing for Vegas, but defensively, he's as strong of a forward as there is out there.
Yeah, number 2 in takeaways over the past 3 years, behind only McDavid, who can really sneak up on you with that speed and take the puck away. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't think people have a full appreciation. He's been a runner-up for the Selke 3 years running.
Yeah.
So, just a guy who has absolutely no holes in his game. A late-round pick who overcame, the knock on him was that he couldn't skate. He still doesn't skate like the wind, but he's gotten it to a point that it's more than passable, and he's just so smart out there that he anticipates, and he's always in the right spot.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like he's always doing the right thing. Even on a bad Ottawa team, he kind of stood out on the ice there as well. And so people might complain about the pick, but I feel like you're pleased. We're strong there. Your points were passionate and strong, and so don't give him too much hate. This is, again, not a fantasy list, as we've been saying for each of the last 4 episodes.
Even if he'd be high, but maybe not that high. Yeah.
If you have any of those three guys on that Vegas line for fantasy, you're sitting pretty good.
Rory knows I bid hard for Pacioretty in our pool.
Yes. We went against each other, I think.
Who won?
I won.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Let's move on. Number 9, the highest ranked defenseman on this list comes from the Tampa Bay Lightning. It is Victor Hedman.
He advances right in, he scores! Victor Hedman wins it in overtime! They score! Hedman all the way, slides it in, the power play goal!
Outstanding work from Victor Hedman.
Ryan, the trophy case may be a little bit bare for a guy that's ranked the highest D-man in the league right now. We know Mark Giordano taking it home last year, Brent Burns in the past, Erik Karlsson in the past. Victor Hedman deserves to be in the conversation with all of them, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He does have the one Norris to his credit, and certainly I see more in his future. I mean, we're going to be repeating ourselves a bit when we get down to the nitty-gritty with these guys, but this is a do-everything player, and he comes in a 6'6", 220-pound package. I mean, you shouldn't be as big as Victor Hedman and be able to move like that. There's just absolutely nothing he can't do on the ice. The way he joins the rush and brings that threat from behind for Tampa when they're pushing forward. It's terrifying, and he can do everything in his own zone. There's just nothing not to like about this guy's game.
He was injured towards the end of the last season, started the playoffs as well. That might have been a reason Tampa didn't look as good in the postseason as well, and people really underrate what he's able to do on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, he, like Ryan says, he does everything. He's great at stopping rushes. He's got a huge reach, obviously. He's got a great shot. He's a lock for at least 10 goals. You know he's going to get a pile of points, power play, penalty kill. We needed to have a defenseman, I felt, in this top 10. And who's the guy that's most likely, if you're going to put odds on it, to win the Norris Trophy? It's got to be Hedman. He's been a finalist 3 years in a row, winning it once in that time. And he's on a great team, surrounded by great players, which is going to help him. He's going to prop up some of the other guys. I'm interested to see who his partner is this year. Is Sergachev going to get a look there? Because you can't get a much better partner to kind of learn the game from and get a feel for than Victor Hedman. So I just think it's a perfect spot for Hedman on one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NHL. And he's the guy. I think you're right that when he was injured, that's a big factor in Tampa Bay slowing down there. Yeah. And that really drove the point home, everything that he does and how important he is to that team, which is just absolutely loaded with stars.
Now, you likely see Hedman on the ice when this guy is on it for his division rival, the Boston Bruins. Coming in at number 8 is Brad Marchand.
Marchand, Deeks, scores!
Here's David Pasternak. Passes in front. Marchand fakes, takes, scores!
That's history for Brad Marchand.
Marchand is the leader of this line in a lot of ways. Again, because he does a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, he does it. He does everything. I mean, he's top penalty kill guy, top power play guy. His offense has just come through the roof here over the last few years. I mean, he's top 5 in goals per game, top 5 in points over the last 3 years. And a lot of people are going to hate where he is on this list because they don't like the player, right? He gets under your skin if you're a fan of a rival team or any other team that's not the Boston Bruins, really. But what I really like, and I think what really puts Marchand over the top and into this top 10, is for all the penalties he takes, he draws even more penalties. Only David Pasternak on the Bruins has drawn more penalties at 5-on-5 than Marchand over the last 3 years, and he doesn't take as many penalties as he draws. So more often than not, the Bruins are getting the benefit from his antics. They're going on the power play, and then he brings the offense with it. I mean, he's everything you kind of want. He brings the sandpaper, he brings the offense, he brings the defense and penalty killing. He's a great player to have on your team.
Ryan, we just spoke so highly about the line in Vegas. Stone, Pacioretty, Stastny. There's an argument to be made that this could be the best line in the NHL as well, if all three stay healthy, which isn't really a factor for Brad Marchand contributing.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at it last year, Bergeron and Pasternak both missed significant time, basically 20 games. Marchand didn't miss a beat. He really is the heartbeat of that team in a lot of ways, and I just think even though he's always been a polarizing player, his talent has just become undeniable. Item number 2 on my Hart Trophy ballot last year. That's just what I think of this guy at this point.
A former Hart Trophy winner, a guy who has not missed a beat at all in his legendary Hall of Fame-worthy NHL career, comes in at number 7. It is Alex Ovechkin.
Ovechkin thunders and scores!
Talk about a release. That is crazy good.
Ovechkin rips, he scores! In a flash!
It does not get any better than that.
People will argue about the spots here and say, hey, why is he not a top 5 player when he's still scoring at a top 5 rate? So make the argument as to why 7 was the right place for him.
Well, I think just because the guys ahead of him are really on the uptick, and this is a list that we're talking about how guys are going to do in this coming season. Not that anyone thinks Alex Ovechkin is going to fall flat on his face, but you look at the point totals of a couple guys ahead of Ovechkin, and they are a little higher. But I mean, give me a break. The guy is unbelievable, lights out. Goal scoring. I mean, 6 of the past 7 Rocket Richards. And when you get to Rory, he's going to tell you why he can break Wayne Gretzky's record. So you're on a panel with people who definitely think highly of Ovechkin.
Yeah, and again, 7 is nowhere to be diminished. That is a great spot. The 7th best player in the league, considering the names that are still coming. It feels like it's worthy. Can he break Gretzky's record?
For him to do it, this is his age 34 season. He needs to average 32 goals through his age 40 season. So there's still a lot of time here left. But what he's got going for him is he's always been extremely healthy, and he's got the best shot in the game. So at the very least, he can be a great spot on the circle, on the power play, and keep ripping those home past his 40th birthday. It's just a matter of health at this point. A down year for Alex Ovechkin is 33 goals, which is just ridiculous. He's the closest thing to a lock for 40 goals that you have in this league, and he's a pretty good bet to get back to 50 this year. So if you think averaging 32 goals for that many more years is a lot, just keep in mind, he's going to hit 40 and maybe even 50 a couple more times. So that average is going to go down and down. And we're looking at maybe age 38, 39, 40. That's now into the high 20s possibly, depending on what he does. And it becomes entirely attainable, which is amazing. Just incredible.
It wouldn't be shocking if when we did this list in 4 years' time or 5 years' time, he's still in and around the top 10 players just because of how consistent he's been.
Yep.
All right, a guy that might be on that list as well in some time, and probably will, to be honest with you, rounds out this one at number 6. It's John Tavares.
It's a great first year for Tavares here in Toronto.
Stops up to Tavares, scores! What a spectacular backhand shot. Wicked backhand.
He really broke through in goals last year. He got more shots on goal than he had in his entire career last year. And I just think on this team, with the offense that they have, if the power play doesn't kind of slow down the way it did a little last year, he might even be able to go higher than what he did. And obviously, he's got something good going with Mitch Marner, who was also ranked on this list pretty high, I think. The two of them together are going to work off each other very well. Tavares' shots are probably going to stay around the same. Maybe they even go up or whatever. He should be able to cross 40 goals. It's just, this is the best team for him in the prime of his career right now to keep hitting these huge career high totals for himself. I don't see him slowing down. And not only the goals and the offense, he's really responsible defensive too. Just a really smart player.
Again, I think one of the consistencies we find with players on this part of the list, and you mentioned it earlier, is that they can do a little bit of everything. And John Tavares is exactly that.
Yeah, it's been a number of years now we've spoken about Tavares with, I don't want to say the Selke buzz, but sort of his name comes up in that conversation as, hey, you know what, look closely at this guy because he's really focused on those finer points. Yeah, he absolutely has rounded that into form, and you have to think one of these years, I mean, Rory said, you know, who knows, maybe the Leafs power play just going to go crazy. You have to think 100-point season. Pretty good bet to be in his future.
Yeah, he was close there last year. That power play, of course, we know struggled towards the latter part of the season. If it clicks all year round, the sky seems to be the limit for a guy like John Tavares and that Maple Leafs team. All right, that is the limit of this list right now, players 10 through 6. If you missed any of the previous members of said list, players 50 now through 6. The links to the previous episodes are in the description below. You want to make sure you subscribe, by the way, youtube.com/Sportsnet, so you don't miss the final version of this list, players 5 through 1, ahead of puck drop when the NHL season gets going. Leave your thoughts and your comments below. We will do our best to respond to as many as we can. For Rory Boylen and Ryan Dixon, I'm Faizal Khamisa. We'll see you in the final episode.